he was the first one to come out, and there were a group of kids in the year below us who didn't like that and would throw things at him. My mum found some porn whenever I was about 16. I wouldn't say I was empowered. I dealt with the problem that was in front of me, and luckily in the intervening 18 years I haven't had to deal with another problem. As a general rule, London allows anyone to be anything they want to be.
Hi my queer family, I'm Javier Lopez. Hope you're all safe and sound. Today, we will be discussing coming out, a topic that has been a struggle for many of us. I'll be talking with Peter Humes about his own experience, what it was like growing up in Northern Ireland, navigating bullying at school, the fear of losing friends, and acceptance. Coming out should be a celebration and not a moment of fear that you dread. Coming out should be a time of acceptance and joy. We live in a world that still penalizes individuals, and some even kill individuals for being who they are. Coming out is a walk in the park for some, and a tedious process for others. But regardless, it should be a moment of pride and realization. You're finally who you truly are, inside and out, and no one will take that away from you. So thank you for joining us today, Peter. I really appreciate your time.
You're very welcome.
Would you mind telling us to begin with a little bit about yourself? Who you are, what you do, where you're from, any hobbies?
So my name's Peter, and I am originally from Belfast in Ireland, and I've lived in London for just over 12 years. Now I'm 36, and I work for an online retail company that I started with a few friends about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm gay, and I'm gonna talk about coming out.
That's great. So yes, that was the second thing. We're obviously talking today about coming out. So this episode is going to be released on October the 11th, which is coming out day. Hence why we're, doing this today. And Peter, is going to share his story with us and his experience. Could you just tell us a little bit about that experience and how it was for you? When you came out, did you know how long before that you knew you were gay?
Well, I've come out hundreds of times. I don't think you come out just once. I realized I was gay when I was 12 years old, and growing up in Belfast in the 80s and 90s, I knew that I had to keep that to myself for a while, that it probably wasn't going to be that accepted.
Mm-hmm.
And I figure 12-year-olds, they're not renowned for being a generally accepting age group. So I think the first person I came out to was a girl from school when I was about 15. And she was fine. And then
You mean she was fine with you being gay?
Yeah, she was fine with me being gay. I've only really ever had like 2 or 3 bad experiences. My mum found some porn whenever I was about 16, and she didn't take it well, and I, being 16, denied everything.
She didn't take it well, and you didn't hide it well.
I had hidden the porn quite well. But she didn't take it well, and then a couple of years later, she said she was okay with it and apologized for how she had reacted. But yeah, I didn't have like one coming out. I told all of my friends individually, one by one, over the course of a few months, and with the exception of maybe one or two of them, they all respected my request for them to keep it to themselves, and they knew who I'd told and who I hadn't, and why I told certain people. And then but then I've had to come out to friends at uni. I had to come out to people when traveling. I've had to come out to people I work with.
So you said at the beginning that you don't come out just once. Why do you feel like you constantly have to come out to people instead of doing it once as a live event, and then that's it, you're out, you don't need to actually tell everybody the same story over and over? So why do you feel like you have to do it multiple times?
There are people that can do that, but those are people like Tom Daly or Graham Norton or Zachary Quinto, that sort of thing. People who are famous who come out once and then it's publicized, and
So you were saying that because they're in the public eye, they're celebrities and everybody will know?
Yes.
Okay. So my question in that sense, it was more as a personal event for you instead of having to do it for the rest of the people, if that makes sense.
Well, it's not that I am like making it an event. But if somebody new comes and starts working in my office, at some point I will talk about my boyfriend, or they will ask about my partner, or somebody will mention my partner by name, and that's me coming out to them, or that's me being outed to them. But that I've now been doing that for 20 years. Everyone does that.
Okay. So every time you do that, you feel it's a new coming out moment?
No, I felt when I came out individually to lots of people in school. And then when I went traveling for a year after school before university, and I came out to like a few groups of people in various hostels around Australia. And then when I got to university, I knew I was sort of stuck with these sort of 20 people that I was going to be living with for the next few years. So I just came out to them all basically over the course of a couple of days. But since then, it's just been, if someone's asked me about my partner, I've said, oh, his name is.
Right.
It's, I don't sit anyone down now and say, by the way, I'm gay.
So let's go back to the beginning of everything, the first time you came out. Why did you come out the very first time?
Because I wanted to tell someone, because I'd, by that stage, known myself for 3 years, and I was good friends with this girl, and I trusted her, and I trusted that a girl would have a better reaction than a boy.
Okay.
And I just wanted to tell someone, and so that they knew more about me.
And how did that feel? Because you're saying you had to tell someone, that it feels like you needed to let that out.
I think I wanted to rather than I needed to.
Okay.
But yeah, it wasn't a huge event. It was the first girl I told was very much a test to see how it went.
A test for both of you, or?
A test for me.
Okay.
I trusted her and I counted her as a good friend, but if I lost her friendship because of it, I wasn't gonna be upset for years and years and years.
Yeah.
Whereas there were other people that I was closer to that I wanted to that I was more worried about losing. And in fact, my closest friends in school were the last to find out because I was concerned that they would walk away from me.
Did anybody walk away?
There was one guy in school who walked away, and I was very pleased that he walked away, and all of our group of friends all stayed with me.
Tell us a little bit more about this friend that walked away. How was that experience for you?
In school, I was part of a group of friends that was maybe about 30 people, and I came out to most of them over the course of the first term of the final year. So we were all 17, 18 years old. And I can't remember, like there wasn't a bus stop or anything. It was just suddenly, I suddenly realized this guy wasn't around. Like he wasn't hanging out with us at lunchtime. He wasn't.
But this guy already knew or found out through friends?
No, I think I told him. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it was back in the day of MSN Messenger.
Mm-hmm.
And like literally nothing happened for maybe 6 months. And he just sort of disappeared.
From the whole group.
From the whole group. And after we'd all finished school and people had gone off to uni and I was going traveling, he just sent one day a long tirade of messages on MSN Messenger that I shouldn't be gay, that it wasn't right, and all that stuff. So he was blocked and has never been heard from since.
And that was the last time.
Yeah.
So you at that point felt empowered that you needed to be yourself. You didn't hide who you were because this person was negative towards your own spirits and coming out.
He was more indicative of what I felt was the more traditional view of people from Belfast, from Northern Ireland. So I figured I probably needed to leave, not just because of being gay, but being gay was definitely the tipping point. A lot of people move away from Northern Ireland when they get a chance, especially in the 90s.
So you felt you were in danger? Was it for safety that you moved away?
Probably like a third safety because I was gay, a third safety because generally it was a violent place, and the rest just because it felt very small and parochial. I was very privileged that I went to a very good school and I had a nice safe bubble of people that were open-minded around me, and I knew that that was not the case for the wider population. And so I felt like moving to a larger city, a more multicultural and diverse city, was going to be a better choice for me.
Okay. Which is London?
Yes, which turned out to be London.
Okay. And how long you've been in London now?
12 years.
Was London what you expected? What you wanted in a different scenery?
Yes, London is, as a general rule, London allows anyone to be anything they want to be. The fact that I live in New Cross and I've lived here for 3 years, and with the exception of the people that I can see, my neighbours that I can see from my flat, I very rarely walk past anyone more than once ever.
Yeah.
You know, there's just a constant stream of new people. And as a general rule, outside the gay scene, and the gay community in London, I would say that there's little open hostility and judgment towards gay people. I think that inside the gay scene community, that is very different, but that's for a different podcast.
Let's move along to a different topic within the coming out experience that might be a little bit sensitive for some people listening, and it is bullying. Have you suffered any sort of, bullying or bullying because of your sexual orientation, because you're gay?
Yeah, in school. There were two incidents. One was there was another gay guy in our group of friends, and he was the first one to come out, and there were a group of kids in the year below us who didn't like that and would throw things at him. And then whenever more people started to know about me, they would throw stuff at me as well. But they were all...
What do you mean? Just like because they wanted to annoy you, or they were just trying to hurt you?
No, they just wanted a reaction out of us.
Right.
And then there was a girl who was in my year who would make lots of comments. And then I reacted to her one day and pinned her inside a locker, and she never made a comment again.
Okay. Was that the first and the last time that you experienced bullying because you're gay, or has that happened again?
No, that's it.
Would you say that at that point, again, you feel empowered to be yourself, and that was like the tipping point and the end of it, and you were not going to, be submitted to that anymore?
I wouldn't say I was empowered. I dealt with the problem that was in front of me, and luckily in the intervening 18 years, I haven't had to deal with another problem like that since. Okay. I don't, if somebody started bullying me tomorrow about it, I don't know what I would do, but I haven't had to deal with it since I was a teenager and since I was in a location that I knew was unsafe for me.
So let's move on to family a little bit. So you mentioned that you came out to your mom, or she found out because she found your porn. So you actually didn't come out to her. What happened with the rest of your family, with your dad, with your brothers and sisters? How was that experience? Did you tell them, or did they find out because of your mom? How was that?
So we'll go in. So mum found out, and she didn't say anything to anyone. And then, so that was when I was 16. And then whenever I was 17, I went to see my older brother who lived in London, and we were out in a bar, and he asked me if I wanted a drink, and I ordered a drink, and he came back, and from my drink order, he knew I was gay.
What do you mean?
So I had ordered an Archer's Snaps and orange juice, which is a pretty gay drink, and he just said, I just want to know, it doesn't matter, but I just think that you might be, so I just want to know. And like by the time he'd started asking, I knew what the answer was. So I said that I was gay, and he said that was fine, and that's not been a problem since. My younger brother, who's a couple of years younger than me, he was told by people in school, because we went to the same school.
Okay.
He never had a problem with any of it. so I didn't have to come out to him. And then at some point when I was in uni, mum told dad, and dad had already figured it out. On as part of my year out, I went to San Francisco and Miami, and he figured it out because of those places and the fact that I'd never brought a girl home.
I think it was maybe because you didn't bring a girl home.
Yeah, possibly, but yeah. So they were all fine. I didn't come out to two of them. But then I went at my younger brother's wedding about 5 years ago. I brought my then partner to the wedding, and it was the first time that he was going to meet my extended family.
At the wedding, but everybody was going to be there.
Yeah. And all my aunts and uncles and cousins. And it was the first time they were ever going to meet one of my partners. And we're not a close family. Like, we only see each other at weddings and funerals. So I'd never officially come out to any of them. And they were all sitting the night before the wedding. They were all sitting around in a room, and I brought this guy in and introduced them to everyone. And then I was like, right, okay. What's that?
As your partner? Did you introduce him as your partner?
No, I just introduced him. And then, but I thought it was very clear that this is my partner. And then we left the room, and one of my aunts asked my dad who that person was. And they said, oh, that's Peter's boyfriend. And they're like, okay, cool. And then the next day at the wedding, we were dancing together. And I hate dancing at family weddings, but a different aunt came over to me and just was, I can't remember what she said, but it was something along the lines of like, I'm very proud of you or something.
No, that's nice.
Which was very nice, but it was also, we were one of 3 gay couples at the wedding.
Okay.
We weren't standouts.
I can imagine it was nice to feel supported by your family, and also by the fact that you were not the only gay people there. So, you felt like you had company there that were supporting you. You mentioned a little bit about your story when you talked about coming out on the first time in school and your family. How was for you growing up in Northern Ireland and being gay at the same time, with all the troubles that were around that period?
It was just something I knew I had to get away from. There was no, from the age of maybe so my brother is 5 years older than me, so he'd moved away. He'd moved to England whenever I was 13 to go to university, and then he stayed to work in London. And I knew that was an option, and that was a better option just for life. Northern Ireland is somewhere that is very much stuck sort of 50, 60, 70 years in the past. And it's, with every step forward, it makes it, stumbles a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so from a very early age, I didn't see a future there. Even before I realized I was gay, I don't think I wanted to live there. And so it was just, I don't remember making a conscious decision. It was just, I'm not going to live here for my entire life.
Why do you think people are stuck in their old ways?
Oh, because it's such an insular society that people very rarely lift their heads up and see what's around them. They deal with their immediate area, their immediate family, their immediate circle of people, and they don't trust anyone from the outside. Like my mum grew up in a small village by the coast, and she moved out of it when she was like 12 years old and moved to the city. And then about 10 years ago, she retired and moved back to the same village. And there are people that she grew up with who have lived in that village her entire life. And they treat her now as an outsider, as someone who left.
Really?
And the village is 60 miles away from the city. You know, it's not like it takes days to get there. But it's just a place where you trust the people you know, and you automatically distrust the people you don't.
Okay.
And so it's just a place where everyone is very wary of other people.
Yeah, I think maybe that could be because obviously the way things were in the past, so much happened over there, and they don't trust anybody because they might think the same things are going to happen again. If they let somebody from the outside in, it's going to be trouble, and they'd rather stay in their own little cocoon when they are okay, in brackets, in their own little world, I assume. Okay, so when was the last time that you came out? Because you mentioned at the beginning that you had to do it a few times. When was the last time?
The last time I actively came out?
Yeah.
The last time I actively came out would have been probably about a year ago, which was the last time that we got new members of staff into the company. So we would have, there were 2 new customer service operators who turned up, and they were working in the same room as me. And at some point, my boyfriend's name would have come out. I think maybe they asked, it was getting close to the Christmas party, and one of them would have asked who I was bringing. And so I said my boyfriend's name, and he has a very male sounding name. So, plus just, this thing is not, it's just not an active thing. It's not something that it's possible there are people who I work with who don't actually realize I'm gay.
Okay.
And
that's okay. That's fine. You don't feel like, they need to know.
No. I mean, yeah, there's nobody I think I've ever worked with that I've actively hidden it from, apart from like temp jobs that I don't care about. But if I've had a partner at the time, I'll have said their name. But like, I don't, it should be something that's not a thing, and therefore I try to make it not a thing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think so. I think when people make it a thing, they're already making it a problem. I think it should be a normal thing, a natural thing. In my particular case, I don't think people should come out. I think people should let others into their lives, and see it as a privilege of letting other people into your life, into your experience, and not feel like you have to come out because it feels like you're doing it for them instead of doing it for yourself. Because it's not like you're trapped, in my particular view, So I think if we reverse that and switch that around, we're actually opening ourselves and our homes and our views to the people from the outside to be part of it. So what advice would you give to somebody that is right now in school, and is maybe in a similar position that you were, that you knew you were gay at 12 years old, but I think you came out when you were 16. Was that right?
Yeah, 15, 16.
15, 16. So what advice would you give to a 15, 16-year-old that he or she or they are in school at this point, knowing that they're gay, but that they don't want to come out because they fear they might be, attacked, discriminated, or or something worse. From your own experience, what advice would you give to somebody like that?
I think the main thing I would say is do what you want when you feel comfortable and when you feel ready. You will, I'm pretty sure that I came out to the first girl, either with little thought or certainly with little planning. The most nerve-wracking time I came out was when I actually had planned it for my best friend. And I couldn't do it because I built it up too much in my head.
Yeah.
But I think at some point you will feel comfortable with yourself and with your surroundings and the people or person that you're sitting with, and just tell them. And also, someone who's 15 now, regardless of where they are in the world, it is a much more accepting world than it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
There are still plenty of parents and friends and siblings that will react badly, but there are a lot fewer of them than there were. But yeah, just do it when you feel comfortable. I would strongly recommend having a test with somebody that you trust but don't care that much about. That really helped me.
That girl that you came out.
Yeah. And I mean, we were friends. We continued to be friends for the entirety of school. And then I think we were on Facebook together for a few years, but we definitely haven't seen each other for nearly 20 years, and that's fine.
But wouldn't you have rather come out the very first time to somebody that you actually know? Don't you feel like it's like kind of like when you're a virgin and then you want to do that with the right person? Isn't that like the same when you want to come out? You don't want to do it with the right person, so you're not missing that opportunity. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but I don't agree. It's not losing your virginity. I was friends with this girl. We lived nearby to each other. We went to the same school, and we hung out a lot, which is why I felt that I trusted her. But I also knew that we were school friends. We weren't going to be friends for life. I knew that I was closer to other people that I went to school with.
Yeah.
And so I picked her to come out to because I knew that if she reacted badly and we weren't friends, it wasn't going to be the end of the world.
Yeah, I think the only reason why I say that is because a personal experience that I had after I came out to a few people. I didn't come out to one of my really good friends, and he was very upset when he found out that I didn't tell him first. But I think he just wanted to be the first person because we were really close. But I felt at that point like I should have told him because I made him feel bad because I didn't tell him to begin with. But I was also very scared because he was a good friend and I didn't want to lose him. So I guess you felt the same at that point and you made a decision, and this girl was going to be the first person. Yeah.
And my best friend in school had exactly the same reaction. I told him, and he was pretty angry that lots of other people knew before, and he was pretty angry for like maybe a couple of hours. It wasn't
okay.
But one of the reasons he calmed down is that one of our mutual friends explained to him the reason that I had told all of these other people first was because I specifically didn't want to lose him as a friend.
Yeah.
And because the difference between now and then is possibly like now it's much more acceptable to be an ally.
Mm-hmm.
It's much more, and it's much more easy to be a visual and passive ally. You can, support something on social media, with just a few clicks, and it will make your gay friend go, oh, actually, I can tell so and so because he's put a rainbow flag on his Instagram or whatever. Whereas, there was none of that. I was telling a 17-year-old boy who'd grown up in Northern Ireland to religious parents that I was gay. There was as good a chance that he would tell me to screw off and never speak to him again as there was that he would say that's absolutely fine.
When you came out at 16, you probably didn't have the same tools and resources that you have now, as you mentioned, things like the internet and social media, etc. But right now, in this time and era, what resources or tools would you advise or would you suggest to somebody that they just, starting to discover that they're gay and they don't know much about it? Where can they go? Who they can talk to and things like that? Any suggestions?
Google is their friend. I would suggest that they there's if anything, there's too many resources now. There will be an LGBT group pretty much in every part of every Western country for sure. There's a ton of information online. There are a ton of actual physical support groups.
Yeah. So now things are a lot easier, that you simply need to go and reach out, press a button, and then find the support that they need.
Yeah.
Going back a little bit into bullying that we discussed earlier, and now social media. Some people might not do that because they might fear there's going to be some sort of attacks. There's a lot of trolls out there. There's a lot of people that they hide their faces when they attack people online. And that's a risk that people are aware of and they might not want to take. But if they're already online and they suffer from these things, what do you think they should do? What would you advise be in this case?
To tell someone, depending on what it is, tell the police. Like, you can tell somebody, I am being bullied because of this, without revealing who you are.
Yeah.
You can tell somebody, I am being bullied, without revealing why. And the vast majority of people will, A, not care why you're being bullied and not care if it's true or not. They just will want to help you stop being bullied.
Yeah.
Bullying is something that takes up a lot of time and effort and energy, and it is generated by a small number of people, and it is seriously affected a small number of people. There are plenty of people who have been bullied a bit, but everyone gets bullied a bit about something. They're too small or too tall or too fat, or a girl or a boy, or speak funny or stupid or whatever. But people who are being seriously bullied will always be helped by the majority of people, because the majority of people are good.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the only reason why I asked that is because obviously you mentioned that there's like different levels of bullying. But nonetheless, bullying is not right, and it can lead to something really serious like suicide.
Yeah.
So for the people listening, yes, reach out, ask for help, and talk to somebody about this. It might be hard at first to actually open up and maybe come out to somebody before you actually tell them that you're being bullied. But the quicker you do it, the better. You need to find that person that you trust, and you need to talk to that person to begin with. You need to find an ally or somebody that can listen to you, and then you will take it from there. But keeping those feelings to yourself is not going to be the best thing. As bad as it might be and as hard as it might be, it's not the right thing to do. And we understand it's going to be hard, but it's better if you actually talk to somebody. So please do that. So any last words, Peter?
Just that I think coming out as LGBT should be the same as coming out as vegetarian or Christian or
yeah,
a Labour supporter. It shouldn't matter, and it shouldn't be something that you think anyone else cares about, because no one else should care about it.
But people do care.
But they shouldn't.
Why do you think they care?
Because people are inherently nosy and want to know other people's business. That's why everyone loves watching soap operas on TV.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't care if the people who live next to me are vegetarians or Christians or Orthodox Jews or from anywhere else in the world or believe anything counter to what I believe, because they shouldn't care about what I'm doing in my head either. Yeah,
totally agree with that. I think people first should be proud of who they are. It's not easy. Not everybody has, some might say the courage to come out and be who you are and who you want to be. But once you do that, it's going to get easier. It's going to get better for yourself, because you're not going to be doing things, for others, and you're not going to be feeling like you're hiding everything that you do. It's that weight off your shoulders that's going to come off. People should be proud of who they are. People should come out if they feel ready to do so, as Peter mentioned earlier. So take your time, and yes, again, when you're ready, just do that. Find a person that you trust, and then just simply do it. It is going to get better. So just hold on a little bit longer. So thank you, Peter, for your time today and for sharing your story of coming out with all of us. And we hope to see you soon on another episode. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for listening. And if you have any questions or want to stay in touch, you can find me on Instagram at My Queer Family Podcast. Until next time.